And so I have a lot of respect for like all of the talent that you put into it, like all the detail.
Well, I cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, guys, so today we're here with the XTravel guys. My name is Aaron with LSK Suspension. We're going to answer a lot of questions that have been coming to us, and it's great to have you guys on here. Really appreciate it. We have Nestor and we have James here as well, and we're going to be just kind of going over all the things that we get in the comments and feedback and all that stuff. And one of the big things that we want to answer is our partnership with XTravel. We're really excited about it. We've known Nestor for years, and we've worked with him on our Cal West side in the past, and we developed a friendship in a way that he trusted us to take this and take it to the next level, and it's been really awesome to work with them. And so now moving forward, LSK is offering this XTravel technology, and we're pretty stoked about it. I mean, it's really cool to finally have something that's that's ahead of the curve and something new that people are excited about, and a lot of questions get asked because people aren't really familiar with it. And so thank you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, and James and I we've been trying to figure out how to get you guys involved and get the ball rolling. How do we start this whole thing? And it's just really cool because our goal is for everyone to be able to see how amazing this technology is, right? And then so with a partner like you to be able to bring it to market, and then just be able to have it out there for people to be able to buy the kits and buy suspension systems that have it is amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, and bringing our ability to manufacture and introduce that with your guys' stuff. I mean, we try to manufacture as much as almost everything in house, and bring something like this that's so complex and has so many items. It was like a perfect fit. It was just like a fitting a glove. To make this happen, and so it's really cool.
Yeah.
What I love about it is it's the collab and seeing the designs go back and forth and we can do this better and because this efficiency we have, and then Nestor comes back, and so it's pretty cool to see the collaboration as a partnership. And that's what we were really striving for this. So
and I will say,
really
like
cool.
Like seeing other people's work. I do a lot of CAD here, as well as Van on design work, and we have Anthony as well that does a lot of the product development at LSK, and you've just been doing it for so long. To see someone else's work when you guys gave us the files for it, it's there's a lot of we don't normally get to see that. And so I have a lot of respect for like all of the talent that you put into it, like all the detail.
Well, I cleaned it up a little bit. It's not like when someone comes to your house, you're like, okay, quick, clean up everything. Make sure you clean up the towels and get I didn't just hand you what because normally it's a red lined mess that's going on.
It's like, did it get it done? Right? It was cool to get it and go through it and see like how your mind worked on it. As a CAD person working in SolidWorks, like I have a lot of respect for that, and it was really cool to do that. And I got to go through it and give it my 2 cents and change how things got put together and key it, do my little twist on it to make it an LSK item. And it's not that it was making it better; it just made it was tailored as if how we approach it. And it was pretty cool to do that because I learned a lot of stuff from seeing your CAD work too. And I think any CAD person that sees someone else's work and is willing to share it and talk amongst it. Like there's a lot, like all the phone calls between you and I talking about like, hey, how's this and this, and you're explaining. It's like, oh, I never thought of that. Like that's pretty cool. So that was actually pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the definition of innovation, right?
Yeah.
Keep pushing and making it the best.
So what's crazy is like when we first started talking about this, we didn't really announce, hey, we're going to be a partnership with XTravel. We kind of kept it under wraps, like we're working on this and making it happen. And when we started posting pictures like, hey, we're making this, it was crazy how many comments and DMs and stuff like that we were getting, phone calls about like, hey, like, are you copying XTravel? Like no one knew, and it was kind of cool to see the reaction from the public and like how many people were curious about it. And you guys did an awesome job getting it in the hands of racers. This thing went through Baja 1000, scored. I mean everything, right? You guys are just seeing them everywhere. And every race you go to, you almost see at least a car or two that has it on it. But it's really cool to see a product tested and then us get our hands on it and be able to improve from that, not just starting from scratch. And I think there's a lot of value to that.
Yeah, that's huge for us. I mean, we want to make sure that when we're setting up a design, when you're going to use it, that it's not just kind of like, it should work.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Like we want to be able to say, this works awesome. Here you go.
Yep.
And then you can run with it and how you want. Like, and like you said, put your own flavor to it. Like I like tubing. I like plate work. I like, I want to do everything billet. So whatever it is that you want to do to it, that's going to be on you to make it how LSK it looks best for LSK.
And so we have our X3 XTravel kit that did great in the pre-order. We're planning on shipping the first round of them out second week of March, which is super cool. We're really excited about that. We had a great reaction from it. But the amount of phone calls we're getting about Pro R kits is unreal.
Yeah.
And we've definitely like speed line, like let's get this stuff going. We've got the Turbo S1. We've got RS1. We have the XP Turbo, XP1000. We have Pro R, and we have the X3 one, of course, which is already going. So that whole UTV line, and then we can dabble in it a little bit right now, but to get into the truck world, hopefully soon is kind of like the next Raptor Bronco maybe. Like hopefully that's coming, and we'll get into that later. But it's super cool to be at the forefront of coming out with the products that are going to be the future and be at the front of the line of that. And we're pretty excited to be a part of that. And we're super stoked that you chose to partner with us. And I think everyone's pretty accepting of it. And it's going really well.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. As far as, I've known that you've been in the industry forever. I mean, a lot of people know your name if they've been around the off-road industry. You've just been around in it, and the history and what you bring to this industry is incredible. And would you mind just telling us like how you got into this? Like, where did it start?
So yeah, I guess I'm the old timer, which is kind of crazy for me to think that, but I'm the old timer in the industry. So I started with Larry Plank. Out of high school, we started racing together, and he wanted to start building stuff on his own and not buy people's stuff. So when I went in there, I started fabbing, and I was pretty good at it, and started building stuff with him. And we did a great job winning a lot of races, and we were on it. Like, I mean, everybody knew like if we had something coming out or a new race car, we were gonna be, top 10 at least.
Yeah.
So
one of the backstories I love with that is innovation, right? And there was all these rules, and Nestor was always telling me how they had to get around these rules and stuff like that. So I think this innovation and thinking outside the box really started with those projects that Nestor had to come up with. I had a ton of stories.
I had a good basically resource with Larry, because Larry's dad was he had a machine shop that Malbert and Mitchell grinding, that it was an aerospace machine shop. So anything we thought of, we're like, this could be better 300M. Let's go talk to your dad. And then he'd make it. And then like, hey, this would be better this way. Let's talk to your dad. And so we did, stuff like on the Pro Truck class, which was one of the classes we raced, the Ivan Stewart Pro Trucks, everything had to be exactly what it is, like stock, right? And I can say this now because whatever, but we had all kinds of like aftermarket parts in the steering boxes to quicken the steering. We had, it was the S rod that's like, it's this little 090 S rod that controls the steering, would constantly buckle on everybody. So we made a solid one out of billet, and then I welded the ends to make it look like it was a piece of tube welded.
Okay.
That was just stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just funny, but we was constantly like innovating and changing stuff to make it give us that little edge.
Fixing the industry problems, like stuff everyone was having. You were in the forefront of trying to make a solution for it.
Yeah,
get ahead of it.
So that was a really cool time, and unfortunately, Larry passed away, and I got left with a lot of the projects that we were working on, and I just kept it going, and that's when I started the New Line Products, and we kept building high-end pre-runners and race trucks and stuff, and I developed my own bolt-on 4-link kit, which was one of the first ones out there. And
so that was like the beginning of the whole 4-link era.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So I did that, and then I did a bolt-on equal-length beam kit, which was one of the first ones out to do that.
And that was a huge, like, that's still happening today. People are still doing that.
CarTech was ordering, like, at the time when I couldn't make them fast enough. He just constantly ordered
Really?
four-link kits and I-beam kits, like
Wow.
constantly from me. It was just crazy. So I had a good thing going with that, and then building race cars and stuff. And then I got into the whole. I'm not a motorcycle guy. So he's a motorcycle guy and a quad guy. I'm not. And I always see the pit bike craze was going on, and I'm like, pit bikes, that's cool. And I'm like, I don't ride pit bikes, but I wish I had something like that, like in a truck version.
Yeah.
Like that would be kind of cool. And then I started talking to my buddy, like, would it be cool to build like a little mini trophy truck? Like, would that be? And there was like, I don't know, that's kind of weird. I've never seen anything like that. So I started building one, and then I did. And the first time we went out to Barstow and to test it, I had like all these people following me through the desert. What is that? What is that? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. It's a little trophy truck. And we named it, and a lot of the big racers, the Herps and Serapis, and like, I mean, all the big time guys like Papas and Beer, they all had their kids at the time, which the kids now that race now,
had
the trophy trucks were little kids, and they all bought them for their kids. They all just said, those are the best. We need to buy them. All the Herps teams bought all their kids' trophy cards. So,
trophy card's a big name. I mean,
it turned into this huge deal. So for the next 10 years, I was building trophy cards nonstop, just trophy cards. So,
and when did that start? Like mid 2000s?
I think 2004, I think is what it was. And then I started building trophy cards, and then I built 3,500 trophy cards.
Wow.
3,500.
Wow.
So,
And that's worldwide.
Yeah,
Australia.
That's
Australia,
incredible.
and Australia still has a trophy kart racing series
Jeez.
too. But so I just did that, and then it died off. The advent of the UTV kind of killed a lot of the trophy kart racing off. But I pivoted. So from there, it's like, okay, well, if you can't beat them, join them. I just started building UTV stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's when, at the time, James comes in, and he's doing quad stuff, quad racing. And so he had me build a front suspension for one of his quads. And it came out good. I think it was pretty nice. And he was asking me, like, what else do you have? Like, can we do something really cool, innovative, different for these quads? I want something like different than anybody else. And so I had told him about this suspension system that I've been working on for a few years now, and we tried it on the quad, and that was like the most eye-opening, because I was like it was very, I was designing it and everything, and it was still kind of like in theory. It was all theory.
Like, so this is ground zero for XTravel.
Ground zero. Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this going to work? Hopefully it does.
Yeah. And what was the motivation behind it? Was it like the steering on a quad is terrible and you just needed to reduce that? Like, is that...
You get a ton of feedback to the steering wheel. So you're constantly, fighting the handlebars, and then, you put stabilizers on. Well, the stabilizer gets turned up too much, and now you're fighting that stabilizer to do all your steering. And so, one thing led to the other with I was asking Nestor, well, what is it? How does it work? Is it going to bind up the steering? Like all the questions we get, right? Yeah. And then it just, we went out and rode it in Barstow and the gnarliest terrain, and I got off it and go, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. It was like as much feedback, and I felt like I was riding a two-wheeler. And as far as, the amount of effort I was putting in, and
I'm sure at that moment you realized, holy cow, like we're onto something.
Yes.
Like this is the next thing.
It is. And that's really the excitement when I got off, and I was, we got to do something right with this. We got to get patents. We got to, bring in, some sort of real legitimate, company and move this thing forward. So
what's cool about hearing about this, like, all together, is that it seems like it's a trend that you've always started being developing something new to fix a problem, all the way back from beams and four links, and then the trophy card thing was just incredible, something totally new, and then moving on to the UTV world, it's like, well, the UTVs work so awesome out of the box, what can you do better? And you literally did it. You did what people were trying to find, what makes it better, and you found it.
And that's what my whole MO has always been with anything, is always like, I don't mind building a bunch of stuff, or like suspension kits or roll cages, whatever. That's fine. But what really brings me joy is like, let's disrupt the market. Let's change things up. Let's build a pre-runner that with air conditioning and everything that you can drive to a race it, and then drive home.
Right.
Like that was the kind of stuff I wanted to do, and like I just be different, and that makes me like want to really every morning get up and go, okay, what am I going to do? It's so exciting. We're going to do the new. Yeah. We're going to do a Bronco. We're going to do like all this different stuff. It's like I'm.
He's a bat cave. The laboratory of Nestor is what we want. What's next?
And I think your like inspiration behind all this is like that you're genuinely an off-road enthusiast too, and there's a difference obviously between people that design stuff that are just there for a job, and there's people that design stuff because they actually passionately want to solve a problem. And your inspiration on doing that for this industry is incredible. And it seems like what's next, you know what I mean?
Well, he's been hashtag game changer since the 90s. It's like you can't do that much more than what Nestor's done. So it's pretty awesome.
Is there any other motivation that drove you toward this direction other than just trying to come out with something that's just, like as far as one thing that happens as a UTV person, that I race my UTV as well, obviously have the XTravel stuff on it. And, one thing that I did before I did all this with you guys is I upgraded so many components that I look back and I'm like, I wish I never even spent the money upgrading those things. As, like on an X3, for example, the steering's terrible from the factory. I mean, it's almost dangerous. Like you let go of the wheel and the thing just wants to just roll over. I mean, it instantly turns. It's like it just doesn't has a mind of its own. And so I bought the steering rack upgrade, a billet steering rack from Shock Therapy. I bought stronger ball joints and different axles, and I pretty much did everything I could. Upgrade the bushings, upgrade the arms. I did everything I could to make the thing, as strong as it could be and hold up to a race, and then spent all that time and money into it, and I could have just put the XTravel on, never touched the steering rack. Like, everything would have lived. I would have had uniballs now. Like, it's crazy. Like, at first I was like, oh, okay, there's a cost associated with that, but really it would have been cheaper for me just to do that to you guys in the beginning than it was to upgrade all this stuff that I did. And I think that's something that it'll take time for them to grasp onto, is that this XTravel actually, in the nutshell, for what you're getting, it essentially helps you save costs and gets you race ready makes your chassis a race car pretty easily, in the front end.
I think that's what happens when you start with the design. You know, instead of putting Band-Aid fixes on a design that's been out since the 30s, which that's the A-arm and the single pivot top and bottom. Now, okay, what are the problems for the not UTV but the A-arm, and then solve for those characteristics, poor handling, issues with, bringing up electric power steering. How does that affect, as you get to big trucks? That's going to be a major problem as well. So this design, that Nestor's come up with and invention is, start to finish. It's the value.
And for people that aren't familiar with it, we have two upper links, we have two lower links, and essentially what we're doing is in a minimal nutshell, we're reducing the scrub radius tremendously, and we're making it so that we don't get the crazy feedback when we hit things. And now we're not doing that so much that it's like hydraulic steering where you're driving a forklift and you hit a bump and you don't feel it. Right? That's not the goal. You want to be able to feel when the car is not tracking the way you want to. You want to have a little bit of feedback, but it's not ripping out of your hand. You're not putting a lot of effort in. It's just the perfect amount of feedback. And because of how all this geometry works and you have so much control over what's happening, you can control how much feedback the person feels in your design. And that's pretty incredible. And that like, if you could tell us a little bit why this, just in geometry retrospect, why this kills the A-arm,
Well, that's the big thing is, like, you were talking about the different links, multi-links versus, an A-arm. So the multi-links are allowing you to also to share the load for the actual pivots. So instead of having that one pivot, like James was saying, that it's just one pivot on the top, one on the bottom, it's taking all that load. Every time you hit something, that one pivot's taking the brunt of that. Now we've got two pivots in the place of that one that's helping the load. So that's one major thing that it's doing for you, and helping the longevity of the car also. And then the other thing is, like, by moving what those pivots are doing is just creating this virtual pivot that's moving it way out on the tire, and then when you do that, you don't use that tire as a lever. You don't leverage the tire.
You're pivoting in the center of the tire.
Yeah, so you when you hit something, everything's based on that center point load, and so you take so much load away from the tie rod that the tie rod's kind of just steering the car. That's all it's doing. It's not taking any of the extra force that it would take normally, like you're saying, like on a stock rack or anything else, where people are like, okay, we're going to put a bigger rack, we're going to beef it up, we're going to put hydraulic racks. Everything's just trying to fix that inherent problem that A-arm has, and you're just trying to solve it for an off-road application.
Right.
And so we're solving that.
One of the big things is okay, what's steering feedback? Well, in off-road, the road's not, pavement, right? So you hit a rock, you hit a rut, and that's trying to force that lever of the tire in or out constantly. So you as a driver, you have a set course, you see obstacles, you try to, miss them, but you're going to hit, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
That lever's going to want to go in or out, right? And so, through that, you're able to,
So you're talking about the understeer oversteer part
understeer,
of it?
oversteer, and how that actually feels in your wheel from the A-arm to the XTravel.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Is just because now the environment isn't controlling what the tire is doing. Now you're controlling what the tire is doing. So the environment can't make, like, if you hit a rut or a rock or whatever, and you're in a turn, that rock normally on any suspension will move the tire slightly, right? So it'll move you, it'll upset the car a little bit. So now you're trying to like counter steer or move, but you know how to drive. James knows how to drive. There's a lot of people that they're not that good at driving off road. They just don't do it that often.
And to build off of that, like, so King of the Hammers, not last week, and the weekend before for the Desert Challenge, it was so rutted out from all of the trophy trucks running through it. And it was just, if I normally would be fighting my car, and it's an X3, driving through the ruts in two-wheel drive, I was able to comfortably click in the four-wheel drive and focus on the track and where I was going and not worry about getting torn out of the ruts. Like, it was that alone, by the end of the race, we race a lot in District 38, and by the end of the race, your arms just feel like dead weights. And then on the last one, it was just like, hey, I popped out, and I was like, oh, I feel like I was just chilling driving, like focusing on the race and not focusing on, rolling the car because I let go of the wheel for a split second, And it's hard for people to experience this without actually getting to drive a car like this, which is going to take time for people to realize how cool this is.
Yeah.
That's one of James's just a small thing that he has to overcome right now with people calling him and asking him about why should I get this? Why should I get this over? Like, I got a long travel kit. Like, that's what I want to run. Like, I've got this long travel kit and it's got this much travel. Like, why should I get this? And him trying to get the point across without them driving it, and then having that aha moment, like, oh my, like, I can't believe this is actually possible. I didn't know you can do this in a car. But like, he has to kind of figure out how to educate everyone in a certain way to let them find out, like.
So for like a new user, if someone came in, right now and they said, this is my first time seeing it, what would you tell them? Like, why would you do the XTravel over the A-arm? Like, what do you expect to feel? Not what's happening at the suspension, but like, as a driver, you're sitting in the car, you don't even get to look at the suspension. What should you expect to see happen immediately the first time driving it?
Well, that's going to be more of a James question.
Yeah, it's the most I would say precise driving. So in the off-road environment, like you're saying, you're going through the track and you have an intended path and you're steering the car, and then all of a sudden, I hit a rock, it upsets the front, and then it carries into the back. Now you're correcting, right? And now if you're correcting the too much for that next corner, you're late, and then you have to come back. So when I drive XTravel, it's just so settled. The steering wheel is just so compliant. It keeps the car compliant.
I noticed that same thing. It's just like smooth from like one transition to another.
And it's like things that, like, you're in dust, you're flying. Like when I was following you, it's like, I just hit a big rut, and you're like bracing. I find myself like I'm holding on to, control the steering wheel, and it just never does it.
Yeah.
And there's things that you can actually, hold with your fingertips but at the same time, that feel of the road that you want to feel and that connection to the road and the feel is all there. It's just when it wants to get upset, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so like, even when you're in like a turn with, whoops and usually on a normal setup, you're seesawing a little bit. It just freaking goes like this and goes like that, and it's just
something I noticed. I drove the car a lot with just the stock A-arms, or just even aftermarket A-arms, just normal A-arms. And one thing I really noticed almost immediately was the control of the front end not losing traction. And did you do something? And I know you did. You did something that this XTravel allows you to do that A-arms couldn't, to keep the wheel more planted to the ground.
Yeah. So. Normally, like when you're steering, one tire is going to have the traction based on a turn, and the other one's not, because no one focuses on
the inside wheel, right? That's the lighter wheel.
Yeah, the unloaded tire. They don't focus on it. They just focus on that loaded tire. Well, in off-road, it's not that way. When you're sideways, that inside wheel is the wheel that's loaded. So now you have that inside wheel that's kind of all wonky because of the standard A-arm, geometry. So it wants to literally debead the tire. The tire is laid over, and it wants to run into stuff and debead it. Like with XTravel, the tire is constantly loading. No matter what the attitude of the car, it's trying to load the tire straight down the path. It's not trying to offset the tire or change things based on some weird camber curve. So that's a big difference on.
So essentially, just for everyone to understand, you're keeping the wheels perpendicular to the ground,
as
regardless of
possible,
the car rolling. You're trying to achieve the wheels perpendicular to the ground, and you're keeping a contact patch as large as possible.
Yeah,
is that right?
As much as possible.
Yeah, and so from all this, obviously something must have inspired you to do this design. I believe there's some road cars that you came across that.
Yeah. So I went to Tesla, the Tesla factory. We were doing this big tour with a friend of mine, and we walked through this tour, and the engineer says, "Hey, I heard you really like suspension. I want to show you the new X car." And I said, "Okay, cool. Let's check it out." And I looked at it, and he showed me the lower arms, and the lower arms are a virtual pivot, and I didn't know what a virtual pivot was at the time. And I'm like, why do they do that? And he says, "Well, see that big giant brake and that regenerative system? There's no room for a ball joint in there, so we had to run a virtual pivot." And I was like, wow, this is really weird. And I'm trying to figure out, same thing as most people.
Yeah.
How does it turn if there's 2 points there? They're like, it's binding up. It can't turn. So I drove all the way home. I'm driving from San Francisco, and I'm just thinking, how can this work in off-road? How do we make this work? And that just I just didn't sleep. And I was just trying to figure things out. And then I added the upper links to that. But then there's all these issues like on-roads don't have, with all the suspension travel, on those standard virtual pivots.
You're taking something that's already complicated in a limited amount of motion and making it an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, so it took me 3 years to develop to where it works correctly through all range of travel. Because if you do it standard like on a road car, it doesn't. It goes all wrong. Everything goes, weird.
Right.
Like when you start bumping it out and drooping it, like it doesn't work. Everything toggles. The tire wants to spin around on itself. So yeah, it took a while to figure out, but that's basically my initial premise was like, I'm like, this has to work. If this can work on that, we have to figure out a way to make it work in off-road. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So you had something that motivated you, and you ran with it and made it something that works for this industry, and it's the industry first.
Yes,
absolutely.
Another game changer, right?
Yeah, totally a game changer.
Another notch in the belt for.
So so UTVs are one thing, and then there's we know you're working on the Bronco stuff, which is gonna be really exciting, and then Raptor, which I know is difficult, but hopefully we eventually get somewhere.
I think we'll get there with the Raptor, and then we're working on some trucks, big truck stuff too, which is exciting. Like big high-end pre-runners and trophy trucks.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine going to any of these big races and seeing any of the big tube chassis trucks with XTravel in the front? They'd be like, what the heck? Like,
Well,
it'd be incredible.
I have this.
Well, all-wheel drive and torque steer too.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
theory I
That's
have.
the future. So.
Yeah, because all-wheel drive is becoming the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is, all these other Band-Aids around it, this would solve those Band-Aids, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping to lessen the need for these giant ram assists that they're putting in trophy trucks.
Right.
They have these huge rams because they have to fight off the insane amount of tire load that's going into them. So can you imagine if you can go back to the old days where you can run just a tiny little
Oh, it'd be
steering,
amazing.
like a ram assist? Like,
On the trophy truck.
yeah,
right? Yeah.
So that's my goal. Like, I would love to see it because, I mean, it's going to be lighter. It's less things to go wrong. Like, I can't wait.
That's incredible. And so one thing I want to point out is that when we started posting about this and we posted some CAD images, started posting pictures of it, people were like, there's no way that's going to rotate. Like, that can't rotate. Oh, what happens when you get on the brakes? The upright's going to twist.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about, I guess, first about, why it's able to rotate? We have two, essentially, in simple terms, V shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And from my understanding, in the most simple terminologies we can, that just like a four link, when you have a parallel bottom link and you have a V-shaped upper link,
Mm-hmm.
imagine what happens if you had two V links top and bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It would keep that thing centered. So that's how the V is locking it in place, and it's keeping that upright from twisting forward when you get on the brakes.
Yeah.
And it's right. It does work. And it's funny because we'll get people to comment and say, there's no way that's going to work. That won't twist. Like, as if we haven't done it yet. And then we post a video of it, and it's like, it turns fine. It turns great. And people think, oh, that adds a lot of scrub radius. No, it does the exact opposite.
Right.
It actually removes the scrub radius. So there's a lot of things, I think, with people, their understanding of suspension. This might kind of show that what's actually happening versus what they thought was happening. And we're hoping to be able to kind of show people that. And once we are able to show people what it's actually doing, I think this will become a really popular setup.
Yeah, and it's definitely that different innovation and all the just, you're taking it to that next level. I mean, we had I-beams. I-beams were great, long travel, tons of travel. It's good. And then, you start thinking, well, that's dirty travel. They call it dirty travel. So you got this horrible camber change at the bottom, and it's like the camber curves are kind of messed up. So let's figure out how to make that better. So then you have this long travel arms, and that really helps that suspension out. But now you're still dealing with that whole steering input issue.
Yeah.
And so we're even further along than that. So now this, virtual link system that we have is basically the way to go, because it takes all the great things about an A-arm and then also adds steering solutions to it.
I mean, it's incredible. And same thing even when we get into like the tube chassis stuff, like the strength. We haven't talked a lot about strength in this. A lot about geometry and the steering feedback, which is obviously a huge key item in this. Big milestone for upgrading suspension is the feedback and making this thing so you can drive it, feel comfortable. But on top of that, we look at these UTVs and you see these tiny little ball joints. Even on a trophy truck, you have an 1.5-inch uniball, just one pivot, sometimes in single shear, or most of the time single shear on the upper. Now all of a sudden we talk about making these uprights with XTravel would be, two giant uniballs, double shear, you know what I mean? Because we're able to move those pivots out away from the tire, and now we can get more in there and not worry about, popping the ball joint off or losing a bolt that's holding a uniball to the top of a trophy truck spindle. So there's some definite items, benefits of what you did here that just focus directly on strength. Am I right? Yeah.
One of the really cool things too, I mean, this was something that happened with Casey Curry. We had a part failure. It was the first time we ever went out with the XTravel suspension, and it was the shock broke on the top of the link, and then which caused a bunch of other stuff to let go. Once the shock goes, everything else follows. Right?
Yeah, right.
But the crazy thing is, like, if it was an A-arm and all that stuff broke and all this stuff was going on, like one of the links ended up breaking because of that, right? So the link broke, but he literally drove the rest of King of the Hammers with a broken link.
Wow.
And finished. Like, you can't, if you broke an upper arm, you're done. You're
Right,
not driving it. You're not driving it back. You're
it
like,
may not be pretty, but you're going to make it.
Yeah, you're just parked there.
Right.
You're like, oh, my arm's broken.
Yeah.
But this, you've got so many more links. You're like, oh, well, that link let go because, the shock broke. So, but we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Like it's an added level of safety that you have.
Right. You break 50% of it. You can still keep going.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't want anyone to break any of the stuff.
No,
but
I
it
mean,
definitely shows you if you break
too.
a ball joint, you're done. If you don't have another ball joint, you're
Yeah.
stuck out there. And I'm sure that happened plenty last weekend.
You
You know,
fly through a rock pile.
Yeah.
Something's gonna let go. But yeah, I mean, that's in the racing side of it. It's really cool to see the fact that people they're confident enough. Like, and he just didn't. He's like, I know, I'm not gonna get her. I know it's a great suspension system.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep going.
Right.
So he's like, let's just keep going. So
What's also amazing about that is after that one issue, I think we have 15 to 20,000 race miles without a single failure.
Wow.
Yeah.
And no failures within the steering systems as well.
Awesome.
So I mean, that's as we're going through and the best of racing in the harshest conditions, you know, it's proven and it's race ready and it's ready for, you know, market, and that's where LSK comes in and can really push that with
even
your efficiencies. So.
Even on my car, you know, being on my car and being the first one that we built here, I wanted to break it.
Right.
Yeah,
I tried.
Right. Did you?
I tried.
Yeah.
I did everything I could, and I have not broken it.
Yeah.
And the uniballs are still all happy.
Yeah.
You know, keep it clean. Everything is nice and tight.
Well, we've upgraded so much since the first initial launch of it. You know,
just from learning, right?
Yeah. I mean, we made so many changes to all the kits to make it stronger, and we're constantly like looking at stuff like how can we do better with the design to make it better, because we don't want to rest on our laurels. You know, like we if we see there's anything going on, like we can make the design better, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and the same same thing goes for you too. Like, you know, a suspension system you're building, because it's a high end system. It's not just the regular A-arm kit. So anything you're going to see with your system too, you're like, like I can change that a little bit, make it better.
Yeah.
So that's what's great about this partnership too. Is like I want to have this really cool think tank with us, like we're constantly like bettering it and making it better, and like making the best possible kit.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what's cool is that a lot of people think, hey, this is for racing. It's not just for racing. No. We want if you're someone in, you know, the other side of the country that's mud bogging and doing something, it works for every application, and that's where we came in and we made this something that what we think is affordable and the correct price point for what you're getting. And we wanted to make it so that, you know, this isn't just for a race car. This is for people that want to upgrade their car and you know, drive it through any terrain. This is meant for everyone, and that's where we came in, and we've made this. You guys have really focused on the racing application, and we want to make it available for everyone. We want everyone to have the ability to get this on their car and really kill it. You know. I really appreciate you guys. This is super helpful. Hopefully this answered a lot of questions for, you know, all the people out there that have been commenting on this. Thank you guys for coming today. It was super helpful. Make sure to leave some comments below and leave us any feedback. If there's anyone else that you'd like to see us visit on here, make sure to let us know as well. And we'll see you guys next time.